Manny Pacquiao was driving his BMW through the streets of General Santos City on a hot Thursday afternoon, returning from a business meeting downtown. The world boxing champion, now 46 years old and officially retired from the ring, maintained a busy schedule with his various business and political activities. As he navigated through the heavy city traffic that had witnessed his rise, Manny took advantage of these rare moments of solitude to reflect on his extraordinary journey. From the days of extreme poverty to becoming a global sports icon. Suddenly, something familiar caught his attention in his peripheral vision. On the roadside, near a traffic light, a middle-aged man was carefully organizing fruit in a small makeshift stall. The vendor's profile sparked a strange sense of recognition in Manny, but he initially dismissed the impression as a product of his imagination. Thousands of people sold fruit and other products on the streets of the Philippines, and it would be impossible for him to personally know them all. When the traffic light turned red, Manny had enough time to observe the vendor more carefully. The man moved with a peculiar dignity, treating each piece of fruit as if it were a precious treasure. There was something about his posture, the way he organized the products, that continued to bother Manny. A growing sense of familiarity overtook him, accompanied by an uneasiness he couldn't rationally explain. The man briefly raised his face to greet a customer, and in that instant, Manny's world completely stopped. It was Bobby Pacquiao, his older brother, selling fruit on the roadside under the scorching sun of General Santos City. Manny felt as if he had taken a punch to the stomach, a sensation he hadn't experienced since his most difficult days in the ring. The sight of Bobby working in such conditions hit Manny like lightning, bringing to the surface a complex mixture of emotions he struggled to process. Manny knew about Bobby's independent nature and was aware that his brother had always preferred to build his own life without depending on family success. However, actually seeing him working under such harsh conditions was a shock that transcended his expectations. Manny had assumed that Bobby was working in some stable and dignified job, but he had never imagined that he was selling fruit on the street, exposed to the elements and the difficulties of informal commerce. The traffic light turned green, but Manny remained paralyzed for a few seconds, ignoring the impatient honking from cars behind him. His mind raced with conflicting thoughts about family responsibility, personal pride, and the complexities of sibling relationships. He knew that Bobby was too proud to accept direct help, but seeing his brother working in such conditions awakened a sense of responsibility that Manny couldn't ignore. Finally, Manny managed to move with the traffic, but his mind remained fixed on the image of Bobby organizing fruit under the scorching sun. The world champion decided he needed to better understand the situation before taking any action. He knew Bobby well enough to realize that a direct approach could be counterproductive, especially if his brother was satisfied with his life choices and didn't want external interference. During the rest of the drive home, Manny struggled with conflicting feelings of admiration for Bobby's independence and genuine concern for his brother's well-being. He knew that Bobby had always been the proudest among the Pacquiao siblings, someone who preferred to face difficulties alone rather than accept help that might seem like charity. However, as a younger brother who had achieved extraordinary success, Manny felt a natural responsibility to care for his family, even when they preferred to care for themselves. In the following mornings, Manny discreetly altered his usual route to pass through the area where he had seen Bobby selling fruit. The world champion felt like a detective investigating a deeply important personal case. He observed from a distance, parking in strategic locations where he could see Bobby without being noticed, studying his brother's daily routine with a mixture of fraternal concern and genuine curiosity about the life choices Bobby had made. During these observations, Manny was impressed with the dedication and professionalism that Bobby demonstrated in his work. His brother arrived early every morning, meticulously organized his merchandise, and treated each customer with genuine courtesy and respect. Bobby had transformed his small fruit stall into a respectable business, maintaining high standards of quality and service that rivaled much larger and more sophisticated establishments. Manny observed how Bobby interacted with different types of customers, from hurried workers buying a quick snack to entire families selecting fruit for their weekly meals. Bobby knew many of his customers by name, asked about their families, and showed genuine interest in their lives. To Manny, it was clear that Bobby wasn't just selling fruit. He was building relationships and contributing positively to his community. The observation also revealed that Bobby faced significant challenges in his daily work. Manny witnessed intense rainy days when Bobby struggled to protect his merchandise, slow periods when few customers appeared, and constant competition from other vendors in the area. Despite these difficulties, Bobby maintained a positive and determined attitude, treating each obstacle as a natural part of his honest work. Manny began to question his own perceptions about success and happiness. Watching Bobby, he saw someone who had found purpose and satisfaction in simple but meaningful work. Bobby showed no signs of unhappiness or hopelessness. On the contrary, he seemed genuinely engaged with his work and proud of what he had built. This realization forced Manny to rethink his assumptions about what constituted a successful and fulfilling life. The world champion also began to reflect on his own relationship with family. He had always assumed that providing financially for his loved ones was the most important way to demonstrate love and care. However, Bobby's situation made him realize that respecting the independence and personal choices of each family member could be equally important, even when those choices were difficult to understand or accept. Manny decided to investigate Bobby's financial and personal situation more deeply without violating his privacy or dignity. He discreetly contacted other family members and close friends, trying to better understand the circumstances that had led Bobby to choose that professional path. The information he collected painted a complex picture of a man who had consciously chosen independence over ease. During his investigations, Manny discovered that Bobby had refused several job offers and business opportunities over the years, preferring to maintain complete control over his own life and career. This discovery further increased Manny's admiration for his brother, but also intensified his concern about whether Bobby was truly living in the best possible way or was being limited by excessive pride that prevented him from accepting legitimate help. Manny spent several sleepless nights struggling with the decision of how to approach Bobby about his discovery. The world champion was torn between his desire to respect his brother's independence and his need to express concern and offer support. He knew that an inappropriate approach could permanently damage the relationship between them, but he also felt that ignoring the situation would be a failure in his duties as a younger brother who had been blessed with extraordinary success. Manny's dilemma was aggravated by his own experience with fame and wealth. He had learned over the years that money and public recognition brought both blessings and complex responsibilities. Manny understood the dangers of assuming that his financial solutions would automatically be appropriate for other people's problems, even when those people were beloved members of his family. Manny Pacquiao, Manny's wife, noticed her husband's growing concern and encouraged him to talk openly about what was bothering him. When Manny finally shared his discovery about Bobby, Jinky offered a valuable perspective on the situation. She reminded Manny that Bobby had always been admired by the family for his integrity and determination, and suggested that perhaps the best approach would be to simply express support without imposing solutions. Manny also consulted his other siblings and his mother, Manny Pacquiao, about the situation. The conversations revealed that the family was aware of Bobby's professional choice, and that, although everyone worried about him, they respected his determination to maintain financial independence. Dionysia expressed pride in the dignity that Bobby demonstrated in his work, but also admitted that she sometimes worried about the difficulties he faced. The reflection on Bobby's situation also led Manny to question his own motivations and responsibilities. He wondered if his concern was genuinely about Bobby's well-being, or if it was more related to his own need to feel useful and necessary to his family. Manny recognized that his identity had become deeply intertwined with his role as provider and protector of the Pacquiao family. The world champion began to consider different ways to support Bobby without compromising his dignity or independence. He thought about business opportunities that could benefit Bobby without seeming like charity, ways to increase the visibility of Bobby's work without unnecessarily exposing him, and forms of demonstrating respect for his brother's choices while still offering fraternal support. Manny also reflected on the lessons that Bobby was teaching through his life choices. He realized that his brother was demonstrating important values about honest work, personal independence, and human dignity that transcended financial considerations. These lessons were particularly valuable for Manny's children, who were growing up in an environment of privilege and could benefit from the example of humility and determination that Bobby represented. Finally, Manny came to the conclusion that he needed to have an honest and direct conversation with Bobby, not to impose solutions or offer charity, but to express his love, respect, and availability as a brother. He decided that the most respectful approach would be to simply be transparent about his discovery and his feelings, allowing Bobby to guide the conversation about how they could strengthen their fraternal relationship. On a Monday morning, Manny made the courageous decision to visit Bobby directly at his fruit stall. The world champion chose a slower business hour, hoping to have enough privacy for a meaningful conversation with his brother. When Manny parked near the stall and got out of the car, Bobby looked up and was visibly surprised, but his face lit up with a genuine smile of joy at seeing his younger brother. Bobby greeted Manny with the same warmth as always, offering him the best fruit from his collection and asking about his family and business. The naturalness of the interaction showed that Bobby felt no shame or embarrassment about his work, treating Manny's visit as a normal and pleasant event. For Bobby, there was no contradiction between being the brother of a world boxing legend and selling fruit on the roadside. Both were legitimate aspects of his identity. Manny carefully observed Bobby's reaction, looking for signs of discomfort or defensiveness, but found only the same warm and confident personality he had always admired in his older brother. Bobby spoke with pride about his business, explaining how he had developed relationships with reliable suppliers, built a loyal customer base, and established a solid reputation in the local community. The conversation gradually deepened, and Manny finally expressed his concern about Bobby's working conditions and his availability to offer support if necessary. Bobby patiently listened to his brother's concerns before responding with an explanation that deeply touched Manny's heart. Bobby explained that he had consciously chosen that professional path because it provided him with independence, purpose, and a direct connection to his community. Bobby shared with Manny his philosophy about work and dignity, explaining that he found real satisfaction in providing quality products to his customers and in building genuine relationships with people in his community. He described how each day brought him new opportunities to make a positive difference in other people's lives, even in small and seemingly simple ways. Manny was deeply touched by Bobby's perspective on his life and work. He realized that his brother had found something that Manny himself sometimes struggled to maintain, an authentic connection to personal purpose that didn't depend on external recognition or social validation. Bobby had built a life that reflected his deepest values, regardless of the expectations or opportunities that his family connection could provide. The conversation also revealed that Bobby was completely aware of the opportunities that his relationship with Manny could create, but that he had consciously chosen not to exploit them. Bobby explained that he wanted his successes and failures to be genuinely his own, built through his own work and determination. This revelation further increased Manny's admiration for his brother and his understanding of the complexities of family dynamics. When the conversation came to an end, Manny expressed his respect for Bobby's choices and his admiration for the integrity he demonstrated. The two brothers embraced with a renewed and deeper understanding of each other. Manny left the meeting with a completely transformed perspective on success, family, and the different paths people can choose to find meaning and satisfaction in their lives. In the days following his meeting with Bobby, Manny underwent a profound transformation in his understanding of family, success, and social responsibility. The conversation with his brother had planted seeds of reflection that grew rapidly, leading Manny to question many of his assumptions about how he could best use his influence and resources to make a positive difference in the world. He realized that Bobby's story represented important values that transcended his family and could inspire other people. Manny began to consider ways to honor and highlight Bobby's example without compromising his privacy or dignity. The world champion recognized that his brother's story could have a powerful impact if shared in a respectful manner, demonstrating to the world that true nobility can be found in any honest profession. Manny wanted to find a way to celebrate the values that Bobby represented without turning him into a spectacle or violating his preference for a private life. After several conversations with Jinky and other trusted advisors, Manny decided to discreetly approach respectable journalists who could tell Bobby's story in a dignified and inspiring way. He wanted the world to know about his brother's integrity and dignity, not as a curiosity about the Pacquiao family, but as a powerful example of universal human values that transcended considerations of fame or wealth. Manny also began to reflect on how his own public platform could be used more effectively to promote the values that Bobby represented. He realized he had a unique opportunity to use his influence to highlight the importance of honest work, regardless of the type of profession or the social recognition it might receive. Manny wanted to transform his discovery about Bobby into a broader message about human dignity and respect for all types of legitimate work. The world champion decided to first talk to Bobby again about the possibility of sharing his story publicly. Manny wanted to ensure that his brother was completely comfortable with any public exposure and understood how his narrative could inspire other people. He was determined to proceed only with Bobby's full and enthusiastic consent, completely respecting his autonomy over how his life should be represented. During this second conversation, Manny explained to Bobby how his story could inspire workers around the world and challenge negative perceptions about different types of professions. Bobby carefully listened to Manny's ideas and was touched by the possibility that his personal choices could have a positive impact beyond his own life. After carefully considering the implications, Bobby agreed to allow his story to be told, as long as it was done in a respectful and accurate manner. Manny also decided to use this opportunity to examine his own responsibilities as a public figure and as a member of a family that had experienced both extreme poverty and extraordinary success. He wanted to ensure that his future actions reflected the values that Bobby demonstrated: humility, integrity, and genuine commitment to community welfare. Manny saw the situation as an opportunity for personal growth and greater alignment between his public actions and private values. The process of deciding how to share Bobby's story also forced Manny to confront deeper questions about the nature of fame and social responsibility. He realized he had a unique opportunity to use his platform to promote positive messages about fundamental human values. But he also recognized that he should do so in an authentic and careful manner to avoid appearing opportunistic or insincere. Manny carefully chose journalist Joaquin de la Cruz, known for his integrity and ability to tell human stories with sensitivity and depth. During his first meeting with Joaquin, Manny emphasized that the story should focus on the values and principles that Bobby represented, not on curiosity about the Pacquiao family or any kind of sensationalism. The world champion wanted the narrative to highlight the dignity of honest work and the importance of living according to one's own principles. Manny personally accompanied Joaquin during his interviews with Bobby, ensuring that his brother felt comfortable throughout the entire process. The world champion watched with pride as Bobby articulated his life philosophy with eloquence and wisdom, demonstrating that intelligence and personal depth are not determined by formal education or professional status. Bobby spoke about his life with a dignity that impressed even the experienced journalist. When the report was finally published, Manny anxiously followed the Filipino public's reaction. He had staked his own reputation on the belief that people would react positively to Bobby's story, but still felt nervous about how the narrative would be received. Manny knew that the public reaction could deeply affect Bobby and wanted to ensure that his decision to share the story wouldn't cause unforeseen negative consequences for his brother. The response was immediately and overwhelmingly positive. Filipinos from all social classes expressed admiration for Bobby's integrity and his choice to maintain independence through honest work. Manny was touched to see how his brother's story resonated with humble workers throughout the country, who felt represented and validated by the narrative. The story had transcended celebrity curiosity to become a genuine celebration of universal values. Manny decided to use the moment to further amplify the message about the dignity of work. He began making public statements highlighting the importance of respecting all types of honest professions and valuing the contribution that each worker makes to society. The world champion used his social media platform to share stories of other dedicated workers, creating a broader movement of recognition and respect. The international reaction also surprised Manny. Media outlets around the world covered Bobby's story, highlighting it as an inspiring example of family values and personal integrity. Manny realized that the narrative had touched something universal in the human experience: the desire to live authentically and find purpose through meaningful work, regardless of external recognition. Manny was also gratified to see how the story positively affected his own family. His children expressed new respect and admiration for Uncle Bobby, and Manny realized they were learning valuable lessons about humility and hard work. The public exposure of the story had created opportunities for important family conversations about values, purpose, and the true nature of success. The world champion also began receiving feedback from fans and followers who reported how Bobby's story had inspired them to reevaluate their own lives and priorities. Many people wrote to Manny describing how the narrative had encouraged them to find greater meaning in their own work, or to treat colleagues from different professions with more respect and admiration. Manny realized that his decision to share Bobby's story had created waves of positive change that extended far beyond his family. In the weeks following the story's publication, Manny witnessed remarkable transformations in both his own life and Bobby's life. The world champion discovered that his brother's example had inspired changes in his own approach to business and public life. Manny began looking for opportunities to support small entrepreneurs and independent workers, not through traditional charity, but through programs that respected their dignity and promoted their autonomy. Bobby, in turn, found himself involuntarily transformed into a national symbol of integrity and honest work. Although he continued selling fruit at his stall, Bobby now received visitors from across the country who came not just to buy his products, but to personally meet the man whose story had touched so many hearts. Bobby treated each visitor with the same kindness and respect he had always demonstrated, proving that fame had not altered his fundamental nature. Manny watched with admiration how Bobby handled the growing attention. His brother had established clear boundaries about how much time he would dedicate to visitors versus his normal work routine, ensuring that public exposure didn't compromise his ability to serve his regular customers. Bobby also politely declined several offers for opportunities that could have been lucrative, but didn't align with his values or personal goals. The world champion also noticed positive changes in his own perspective on success and social responsibility. Inspired by Bobby's example, Manny began evaluating his own activities and investments through the lens of whether they truly contributed to community welfare or were motivated primarily by personal gain. This reflection led to significant changes in his business and philanthropic priorities. The Pacquiao family as a whole experienced a strengthening of their bonds and shared values. Bobby's story had served as a powerful reminder of their humble origins and the principles that had guided them through all the changes in their circumstances. Dionysia Pacquiao expressed special pride in the fact that her sons had maintained mutual respect and solid values despite their different life paths. Manny also began receiving invitations to speak about family values and personal integrity at events around the world. He discovered that he had a new platform for meaningful discussions about topics that transcended sports, allowing him to contribute to important conversations about human dignity, work, and life purpose. These opportunities provided Manny with a renewed form of meaning in his post-boxing life. The response from the General Santos City community was also extraordinary. The city began organizing events to honor not just Bobby, but all local workers who contributed to the economy and community welfare. Manny actively participated in these celebrations, using his presence to highlight the importance of recognizing and valuing all types of honest work. The story had also inspired other Filipino celebrity families to share their own narratives about family values and hard work. Manny realized that the decision to tell Bobby's story had contributed to a broader cultural change, where influential people began using their platforms to promote positive messages about integrity and authenticity instead of just self-promotion. 1 year after revealing Bobby's story, Manny reflected on how that chance discovery had transformed not only his understanding of his own family, but also his approach to public life and social responsibility. The world champion had learned profound lessons about humility, authenticity, and the true nature of success through his older brother's example. Manny realized that Bobby had been his silent teacher all those years, demonstrating important values through his daily actions. Bobby continued selling fruit at his stall, but now with a new dimension in his life as an inspiring symbol for millions of people. He had become an informal spokesperson for humble workers worldwide, eloquently articulating the dignity and value of all honest work. Bobby used his growing platform to promote respect for all types of professions and to highlight the importance of living according to solid principles. Manny had incorporated Bobby's lessons into all aspects of his life. His new business ventures focused on creating opportunities for small entrepreneurs and independent workers, respecting their autonomy while providing structural support. The world champion also changed his approach to philanthropy, moving from traditional donations to programs that empowered people to build their own solutions to the challenges they faced. The Pacquiao family had become a national example of how to maintain solid values regardless of changes in life circumstances. Their children grew up with a deep understanding of the importance of hard work, humility, and genuine contribution to society. Manny and Jinky used Bobby's story as a constant educational tool, reminding their children that true greatness comes from character, not external circumstances. The story had also inspired broader political and social changes in the Philippines. Manny used his influence to promote policies that valued and supported workers at all levels of the economy. He advocated for better working conditions, educational opportunities, and microcredit programs that respected beneficiaries' dignity while providing practical support. Internationally, Bobby's narrative had become a case study in universities and organizations focused on social development and ethical leadership. Manny was frequently invited to share the lessons he had learned from his brother, using these opportunities to promote a broader understanding of universal human values and the importance of respecting all forms of social contribution. The relationship between Manny and Bobby had deepened significantly through this experience. The two brothers developed an even greater mutual understanding and admiration based on genuine recognition of the unique values and contributions that each brought to the family and society. Manny had learned to value Bobby's quiet wisdom, while Bobby had come to appreciate how Manny used his platform to promote important causes. As he watched Bobby interacting with customers on another normal workday, Manny felt deep gratitude for having discovered that seemingly simple scene on the roadside. That moment had become a turning point in his life, teaching him that the most important lessons frequently come from the most unexpected sources, and that true wisdom can be found anywhere genuine integrity and dedication to honest work exist. The world champion realized that his journey of discovery about Bobby had been as much about himself as about his brother. Manny had learned to question his own definitions of success, to value different forms of social contribution, and to recognize that greatness can manifest in quiet and humble ways that often go unnoticed by the world. The experience had transformed Manny from an admired champion into a wiser and more compassionate man. Bobby's story continued to inspire people around the world, serving as a powerful reminder that each individual has the power to live according to their principles, regardless of external expectations or opportunities that may arise through family or social connections. For Manny, seeing the lasting impact of his brother's narrative confirmed that he had made the right decision in sharing that story with the world. Manny frequently reflected on how a simple traffic stop had completely changed his perspective on family, work, and social responsibility. He knew he would continue carrying Bobby's lessons for the rest of his life, using them as a guide for his own choices and as a source of inspiration during moments of difficulty or uncertainty. The experience had taught Manny that life's greatest treasures often hide in plain sight, waiting only for someone with eyes open enough to recognize them. The story's legacy extended far beyond the Pacquiao family, touching lives in communities around the world and creating important conversations about dignity, work, and fundamental human values. Manny knew that Bobby had involuntarily become a global symbol of integrity and authenticity, representing millions of workers who silently contribute to their communities with dedication and pride. As the sun set over General Santos City, Manny watched Bobby closing his stall after another productive day of work. The world champion smiled as he realized that, despite all the attention and recognition the story had brought, Bobby remained fundamentally unchanged, still the same hard-working, humble, and honest man he had always been. For Manny, this consistency was the final proof of his brother's authenticity and confirmation that he had discovered something truly special that afternoon when he first saw Bobby selling fruit on the roadside. Manny's journey of discovery and personal growth through Bobby's story had become a narrative about the transformative power of recognition, respect, and genuine fraternal love. The world champion had learned that sometimes the greatest victories don't happen in the ring, but in the quiet moments of understanding and human connection that completely redefine our perspective on what truly matters in life.
Leave your like and subscribe to our channel so you don't miss the next cases.